Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War objectives for the Web of Shadows event, in which the Night Spider is added to the game. We're also going to be going over a bunch of version 5.3 changes real quick at the beginning, since this is pretty much the first actual video we've been doing since the 5.3 patch that we ended up getting last week. And of course, as of this Monday for the new event week, it forced the 5.3 patch, so at this point it is technically officially fully released at this point. Other than that, we got a lot of holiday stuff going on throughout the week as well to look forward to. But anyways, let's get into the first things first, and that is of course the Glory Troop. And hey, it is not useless for once. Comes with green purple as well. A lot of really good empowers that end up utilizing green purple, so definitely make sure to go on that. However, Night Spider, so rogues have had a problem for forever, and that is rogues, generally speaking, don't really have like anything that properly mana generates for them. This has been a problem for quite some time. However, as of a couple of months ago or so, we ended up getting a 50% mana start for rogues, so this kind of helped them a little bit. However, it wasn't enough to actually make them viable. Well, they finally are now. So, Night Spider, rogue beast. So the most relevant thing is that it's a rogue. It is 13 mana cost, green purple. It creates 6 blue and purple gems, which sounds really bad, but it's boosted by rogue allies, and of course it counts as a rogue itself, so by default it's creating 6 blue and 6 purple. However, given that you can have a full team of rogues, that means 15 blue and 15 purple at 100% consistency over and over and over again. That is insanely good. The main thing that puts this together is it does blue and purple, with that being pretty noteworthy because one of its 2 colors is purple, which means it feeds mana back into itself, which means it loops like crazy and is absolutely insane. It is pretty funny. It's actually meta now. They actually added, finally, I think this might be like one of the only few things all of 2020 that has actually been added that became like super meta. And yeah, that is Night Spider. It is now like one of the best 5 teams in the game, and we'll be showing that in a little bit here as far as just overall how powerful it is. So a lot of potential. And also on top of all of that, for free, it gets a poison random enemy as well, which generally speaking isn't really going to do too much based on how much value you're going to get from everything else on its ability. But hey, it's something extra. Aside from that, it does have stealthy, so they're not even going to be able to target this either, so that's fantastic. Though most rogues do have stealthy, so if your entire team is stealthy, be careful, because stealthy does nothing if all 4 of your teammates also have stealthy, but that generally is not the case. But yeah, make sure to go get this thing. It is insanely good. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's go over some things in version 5.3, as there are several things to go over. I'll go over them basically in relevancy order. So first things first, or at least I feel like is one of the more relevant things, is Arena. Arena is now drafted from Epic to Common instead of Common to Epic. Basically what you can do here is see if any of these are overpowered, see that none of them are, and then simply go and end your draft. You can then go and re-roll once and then try picking overpowered things again and see if you can find any overpowered ones. And if you can't really find anything overpowered, you just keep spam clicking and just go through it again. Whenever you do it a second time, you will have to go and reset it all the way, but you do get one free re-roll now as well. But basically that's the whole premise, is you go and keep repicking until you find the most overpowered epics and or ultra rares that you can, then stick with that team and just auto win. You basically just want to redraft until you find the really good epic or the really good ultra rare, and overall should save you time when you're doing Arena, since you now draft the absolute strongest options first. One other pretty major change is they end up buffing VIP keys. VIP keys do require you to have VIP 5, which I believe is $130 or so spent on the game, and they do give out some occasionally, like these 36 we got for free through various means over time, but it's very rare that they pop up. But whenever they do, and whenever you do get your hands on some, or if you're just going to be using them with gems once you have VIP 5, they actually ended up buffing the rates that you end up getting for this. Basically what used to be the case is you used to have a 30% chance that you would end up getting a trait stone, with the other 75% or 70% chance that you would end up getting a troop. Now it is just all 100% chance that you'll end up getting a troop. This most notably ended up increasing the chance of getting a legendary by about 6 or 7%, and extremely most notably, it ended up increasing the chance of getting a mythic by a 0.67%, also increased the chance for epic, but that's not as important. But yeah, now epics, instead of being 1%, is now up to a 1.67 per VIP key. This is a pretty major shift, because before they used to be only about double the value of a gem key as far as their chance of giving a mythic, and now it's even higher. So greatest way to possibly try to get mythics win in the game. So quite a substantial buff there. Also, they haven't completely removed the trait stone chance. It's now an independent 30% chance, so every single time you end up getting 2,000 gold and you end up getting one of those troops at 100%. However, you also end up having at a 30% chance on top of all that, a chance of just getting the normal trait stone drop. So they haven't completely removed it. They basically just separated it so it wouldn't eat up all of the troop drop table, which it was doing before at a 30% rate or 40%, whatever it was, but now it's not. So that's pretty cool. So overall, insanely good buff to that. Aside from that, we got a new Warband system. This is currently somewhat pay to win. Really bad that they did it during a Guild War week the other week as well. But anyways, as far as Warbands is concerned, it's basically geared towards new players. You end up getting a new team slot, a new banner, which is probably the most relevant thing, a weapon, which you can just get from having your masteries. So as you can see, we already have them owned, just because just gaining hero masteries end up giving those, as well as 2 troops, essentially, or sorry, 3 troops. So essentially, it allows you to essentially build a team. Like this one's Paladin, Templar, Pride Guard, and that weapon. So basically it's for new players to kind of give them a little bit of a team. The teams aren't really the greatest as far as the synergy between them and all that, but overall, it's just kind of geared towards new players. There are multiple ways that you end up getting these Warbands. Currently, it's pretty hard later in the game without spending money. However, the main ways that you get them is from completing out kingdoms. If you are at the point in the game where you have not completed out the quest lines of kingdoms, you do get some Warbands for completing out every single one of the kingdoms. There's a chance that, we haven't seen it yet, but Adventure Board can end up spawning it as, I believe, an epic and legendary rarity objective. So you can end up getting Warbands there. How many, we have no clue because they have yet to happen. But those can end up occurring, and of course those would be completely free whenever they do, but they haven't happened yet. Aside from that, as far as all calendars moving forward, going into 2021, all treasure maps will be replaced with Warbonds. So for example, if this was to be next month's thing, we would have gotten Warbonds on the 4th, 11th, and the 18th of the month. Obviously that's not the case this month, but going into every month going forward, everything that used to be a treasure map will now be Warbonds, since treasure maps are obviously pretty useless for the most part, especially in the current state of the game. So they're kind of tweaking it out for something that's actually going to be useful. And aside from that, of course, they got to make money, so they'll have some overpriced Warbonds in the shop. Some people might have done this to get an advantage during Guild Wars, and if you do spend money on the game, it might be okay to go for it, just to kind of get it a bit early. I personally wouldn't advise it. It's not reasonably priced. But if you want to get them early, you do have that option to do so. As far as when they will shift, we don't really currently know. As there currently stands, there are 5 of them, and they each cost 50 each. You can buy them again afterwards for 15 in order to get like more of the troops and some trait stones. I advise absolutely never doing this, even if you're a new player. Just don't. It is not worth it. You should only ever buy it once, because only the very first time does it give you the team slot as well as the banner. If you keep buying it, it's not going to give you anything of relevancy, so you might as well only do it the single time and wait until they add another 5 or however many they do at some further time. So yeah, don't bother otherwise, because after that it just goes to 15 and it basically just waste all of your Warbonds, which given how currently limited they are, you don't really want to go do that. But anyways, that's pretty much everything. Oh yeah, there's one other thing. Shrines. These are basically something you can ignore. You could basically just buy these every like few days or so. It's like $10 for 2 major orbs. Oh yeah, that is one other major thing that did happen though. All major orbs now have a 1% chance to have a power orb in them. That is pretty big. It's really low chance, but it's a chance. But I think they did this because it does seem like we're going to be getting more Doom rarity troops. For example, there's actually might be a chance we get one this campaign. I went over this last night stream, but as far as briefly, the legend or the mythic all the way at the end is pretty good. The second to last thing that you end up getting, pretty good as well. This thing's kind of like Snow Owl combined with Inferno King. Inferno King, a final trait with a Snow Owl kind of first ability. Definitely has a lot of potential. However, they end up adding one of these, and this is pretty okay too. It's kind of like Divinia, but an alternative Divinia in a sense. But basically, we're getting another one of these kind of like legends. The first legend that we end up getting, of course, was used for Enraged Carandera. So we might be getting another one of those, and if that is the case, we're probably going to need 8 power orbs for it. And if that is the case, that would explain why major orbs now have a 1% chance of giving us power orbs, as they're trying to close that power orb gap a little bit. So good thing I didn't get Enraged Carandera, because we might have to spend another 8 in about 2 months from now when that comes around. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes from there. They also ended up increasing the amount of what's it called, these little deed books. There's now 6 of them, 3 on the free side and 3 on the paid side. Before it was 2 and 2, now it's 3 and 3 for a total of 6, or 3 if you're just playing free to play. So yeah, it's a nice little addition. Obviously deed books, so you need a lot of them to go upgrade kingdoms. So nice that they're going to be giving us a little bit more of them compared to what they did in the first campaign. Also, there's a really annoying triple day delay task. Hopefully that's not a reoccurring thing. Last time we had like as high as 2 delay ones. Now it's up to 3. Anyways, let's get everything else. This is everything I wanted to mention with 5.3. Patch notes will also be left in the description if you want to go check it, if you want to read through absolutely everything. But I basically covered most of the main important things. Anyways, as far as event key drop table, pretty good. It is Zol Carry week. As far as Zol Carry is concerned, everything that's over here is everything that is available in the Zol Carry. If I can actually get over to the thingy thing, one moment. So if we go drag ourselves all the way down to the Zol Carry. Here's everything that is available within the drop table here. There are 2 extremely noteworthy things that you are likely going to want to pick up and have on your team. The main one, and 100% you don't want to leave this week without, is a web spinner. Web spinner has triple damage on poison and webbed. It also has web on its previous ability, meaning that it auto triple damages every single thing that does not have immune to web. This is insanely strong, so make sure to get it. This thing hits for over 100 even if you have a lower amount of attack, so yeah, make sure to get this thing. It has some really decent damage output and definitely something you're going to want to be utilizing quite a bit as you're progressing through the game and even later in the game. It scales all the way to end game. The other thing that you might want to try for is, it is a mythic, however, Arachne Weaver. It's one of the better utility mythics in the game. It also has arguably one of the best trait setups in the entire game of any troop. It has stealthy, so it can't be directly targeted, impervious, so it has immune to sass effects, and it has 75% chance to summon the best thing in the game as far as summons are concerned, and that is a web spinner as far as ones that currently exist. It also does all that for only, it has a 20 mana cost, which is the tied lowest mythic mana cost, and it has a 4x web, a double true damage, which synergizes really good with true damage teams, as well as life and death, which is a great weapon, and it also does basically a Gargoltha amount of explosions if it actually ends up securing a kill. So you get a lot of value out of this thing. It's primarily used on true damage teams like Orbweaver, life and death teams, or just kind of anything that uses a lot of true damage like Grey King teams and stuff like that. Overall, a great troop to try to end up getting. But worst comes to worst, just make sure you get a web spinner by the end of the week, because that is so ridiculously good. If you haven't already gotten it, every single week, of course, you can buy 10 event keys for glory. I do advise doing this pretty much every single week if you can afford it, as it's only 1,800 glory and it gives you 10 event keys, which is much cheaper than spending the equivalency of gems, which at cheapest would be 135 gems. So yeah, make sure to go and get those every single week. Always great to go and use them for more event key pools. Anyways, as far as other things, we do have a Battle Crasher going on for the holidays, of course. We have it for the extra glory, though I believe it has been giving us gold every single time. So I'm not sure which one it's supposed to do. If I'm not mistaken, it is giving 500 gold now rather than 5 glory. Maybe they'll fix it later. But as it currently stands, I believe it is currently giving gold instead, so do be wary of that. Aside from that, we do have 10% to all Zol Carry, we have 10% to all rogues, and if you want to go use the new spider, which it's definitely good, make sure to try it out a little bit. Every single time you use in PvP and Explore this week, you do get a free 40 additional souls, which isn't really that much, but hey, if you're already going to be using it to test around and actually use in various teams, it's basically just free souls, so hey, why not? Since the troop is actually viable for once. Anyways, as far as the faction event, pretty straightforward. Or sorry, not faction, I mean Ward Lore event. It's a pretty straightforward one. Basically, take highest rarity, you'll be good to go. That's the main thing you really just need to know for it. As far as the additional thing, we end up getting the extra spell damage, which is pretty nice. As far as what you are restricted to, it is rogues on blue and purple. There are 2 main ways that you could basically end up building into this. The first is to try to build a bunch of one-shotting things, since you do have access to rogue, or you could just spam Atlanta and try going for the full AoE chipping method. Of course, if you have multiple Atlantas, you can. This is actually the cheap team that we have set up right now. But if you have multiple Atlantas, you can just set up literally just a full team of Atlantas and just kind of poke them down all at once really quickly. The other thing that's going to be pretty strong for this is Blade Wings. 20% chance instant kill. If you're earlier in the game, you just need something to upscale. Can end up working out pretty good. Another really good option, Shadow Hunter. I'll probably be using this the most. It pretty much auto kills anything it touches. So if you have some Shadow Hunters laying around, you'll be able to get pretty good value out of that. And pretty much anything else that has super high single target. So yeah, there's a couple options. Nothing too exciting, but if nothing else, you can ship them down one at a time or go the Atlanta route and hit them all at once. If I'm not mistaken, Atlanta is the only thing available that does hit all simultaneously. But you have Shadow Blade. He has a really high single target true damage. You have Shadow Hunter. If you have a bunch of those will just auto one-shot pretty much. So you have some options. And also, if you have it, Captain McCall is 50% all rogue mana start. So definitely make sure to use him if you have it. Of course, this is the cheaper team right there, so it doesn't actually utilize it since that is a legend. But if you do have that legend, definitely make sure to be using it for the event, as it will make things go a lot quicker. While there are some rogues that do have 50% mana start naturally, a good majority of them surprisingly don't. They have a high amount of stealthy, but not a particularly high amount of 50% start, oddly enough. Anyways, as far as other things that we got going on this week, and there are a decent amount, this Tuesday, which is today, we have ourselves the faction event for City of Thieves. Do keep in mind, if you're keeping City of Thieves as a farming faction, it is the best farming faction to keep at level 20 for the entirety of the game, as it currently stands. However, if you have already gotten upgraded, this is a good place to go and just farm in general. So if you want to go super deep with it, or complete it out, or just get any value here, just doing a few more sigils than you would normally, this does have the best overall loot of any faction in the game, so definitely worth considering to farm a bunch. As far as Wednesday, we have a shelf on an elf, not the elf on the shelf, the shelf on the elf. So we got that pet. It's obviously cosmetic. It is actually the 2020 holiday pet this year. So definitely make sure to pick that up, as you probably won't be able to get it again until 2021 around this time of year. So definitely make sure to get on that. This Thursday, we got ourselves Orbweaver hero class, pretty good with 2 user right Arachnean Weaver. So if you pick up yourself an Arachnean Weaver, might want to go get on that Orbweaver leveling. And this Friday, which is Christmas, we do have ourselves the Vault event. So if you have some free time this holiday season on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll have a Vault event going on throughout the entirety of the thing. So great time to be farming and explore PvP or pretty much anywhere in the game in order to gain more loot than you ever would. You can farm a lot of loot during these Vault events, so definitely make sure to get a bit of grind in if you can fit it in, especially for those initial pity keys. Those first few hours that you go get gnomes, you get a lot of pity keys during then, so definitely make sure to go get that, as those pity vault keys will give you some pretty good loot. And now those major orbs that you get in those vault keys do have a 1% chance to be a power orb, and while that is exceedingly slim, it's a chance. Anyways, as far as Soulforge is concerned, we have a couple okay options. The main two are Guard's Avatar and Shabanu Vespera. Shabanu Vespera, okay mana accumulator. Personally, not a huge fan of her. I tried her a bit when she first came out, but overall, not really that big on her. She's an okay mana accumulator. Feel like there's better options out there. But maybe worth considering if you're looking for a different one to try. But the main one I would say is the most viable to get this week is Guard's Avatar. Guard's Avatar, very situationally used, but it's a good alternative Rowan. Rowan, oddly enough, even though it's only an epic that you get for free for completing out from a quest line of Forest of Thorns, which is actually stronger than this thing. Guard's Avatar is still situationally usable, particularly during factions when you're color locked out of both green and blue. You can end up using him with a 50% night start and going for a full AoE damage. He does have some pretty decent damage. He doesn't concentrate his damage like Rowan, so he does start losing quite a bit of value. However, overall, still pretty decent damage output, and nonetheless, still worth using. Of course, quite a bit higher mana cost at 24 instead of a 12. However, with a half mana start, it's not really that bad, and if you're just doing a battle where you only need one cast anyways, not really that much more mana that you really need to get. 12 initially compared to 6, while it is a bit higher, is still relatively easy to get, especially if you're running with something like an enchant on a given faction. But anyways, yeah, maybe worth considering. Also, if I'm not mistaken, it's still White Helm's only mythic, so it's still relevant for getting White Helm upgraded, if nothing else. As far as weapons, definitely don't forget to go get the Choker of Zolkari. So this is, I believe, only 10 more weapons left as far as these weapons that were added in that one patch. Also, speaking of weapons that were added in that one patch, there's actually nothing else that's worth getting in the Soulforge this week. However, also, we got this from the campaign. Not really that good, but we got it from the World Lore event this week. You can pretty much ignore it, but if you spend 500 gems on the World Lore event this week, you do get it. It's a pretty useless weapon now, which is why I forgot to mention it. However, one other thing I forgot to mention real quick that I just want to briefly mention, I kind of went over that you get weapons from whenever you do those banners. However, I didn't actually really go and show those weapons. But if we go to upgradable here, we end up getting the Darkfire Spear, which destroys a row, burns a random enemy, and then for every purple gem destroyed. So overall, kind of average, nothing really too special. A good majority of these are kind of just pretty average, but they might be okay in like the mid-game, early game kind of area. So right here, this gains a bunch of life and either creates a bunch of red or gain an extra turn, and then you get to explode a random gem. Overall, again, pretty average. As far as the next one, steal some life from the first enemy, then create 7 blues. The gem spawn, not really that high. A little bit of lifesteal could be okay, but there are better options, obviously, as far as weapons are concerned. And for its mana cost, you're almost better just going Essence of Evil. Next, we have the Vine Whip, which ends up dealing damage to an enemy and then entangling them. It also gains another Entangle off a perk, so basically it gets a double Entangle for 10 mana cost. The main relevant thing about this is that it actually uses red. I don't believe red really has that many Entangle options, particularly on weapons, so to be able to have that on a weapon like this might be situationally usable, though more often than not going to be used. And lastly, we have the gain armor and 4 mana to an ally, so you can end up using this as a small armor buff. This, oddly enough, I feel like might almost be the strongest one of them, is because it also gains barrier when it casts and could end up being used as an armor buff thing into a boost ratio troop and ends up doing additional damage based on that armor. For its super low mana cost, it's one of the quicker options that you can do for a armor burst, especially since you can half mana start that and only need 4 mana. So in that regard, it's actually not too bad. Especially if you did it with like Archmagus or something, you could actually just one-turn it with a Surge, since you have +3 purple with it. So without even having to set a banner, you can kind of go for that. That's super situational and when you would actually use it. But on teams that actually need an armor boost ratio, this actually isn't that bad. You also give them 4 mana, so this is going to give them a little bit more of their mana back. So if they want to get their ability up a little bit quicker, which obviously if you're feeding into something that's doing a lot of damage, it's going to be kind of useful. So obviously you can kind of do this with Rowain and stuff like that. You might even use it as an alternative Urskia shield. So for example, if you're going to be running like Hero in first slot, Romaine, Leprechaun, Mirage Queen. If you're going to be running a team like that, doing something like Urskia Shield, even with a half mana start, will require 8 mana. However, if you do this, it'll only require 4 mana with a half mana start, making it a bit of a better option if you need a little bit of armor boost, but you don't need as much armor boost as a Urskia Shield would do. This would almost be a replacement for Urskia Shield now within a Rowain team, so definitely worth considering. It's by far the strongest of these 5 new weapons that ended up coming in through the war pack thingies, but those little war coins. But yeah, if you're gonna get any of the packs first, I'd probably say if you're not doing them based on banner, I'd probably say to go get the shield first, as far as the first 50 that you end up doing on one of them, as it does seem like it's going to be the best overall options as far as viable teams are concerned, as most of these are so situational that you'd pretty much never use them, or just bad enough that you just never really touch them. But strongest one is definitely White Aegis. Second strongest is probably Vine Whip. The other 3, pretty sure, are just going to be dead content for the most part. But White Aegis, definitely potentially viable. So definitely make sure to get that first if you're going to be going for those packs. Anyways, other than that, we went over Soulforge, we went over that, we went over that. Let's go over teams. So I actually want to start with this. Actually, we're already on it. Perfect. So I want to start with this. This is pretty insane. What's the hero class he's using? I want to make sure he's not using freeze. So good. So this team right here is pretty much the new meta. Not like the new meta as in like you're literally run it for everything, but meta in the sense that it's actually viable, like really viable, like insanely viable. So what we're gonna do here is you better not die to Deathmark. That would be the worst thing that you could do right now. Let's see. We're gonna have a little bit of a mana accumulation here, a little bit of a bad start, but as long as we can get rolling here, we should be pretty auto win. So have we won? It looks like we won. Okay, so we'll go move this over. So we'll go rope dart something. It's not over yet. Okay, now I'm pretty sure it's over. So this thing creates 15 blue and 15 purple because we have a full team of rogue. We have half mana start off of Macaw off its final ability. We also get to instant kill anything that has Submerge. We have Mother of Darkness, which oddly enough in the past used to be pretty bad as far as mythics are concerned. However, there are 2 pretty noteworthy things that she does. She has Bleed, which and bleed all enemies whenever she does an extra turn. We're going to be getting a lot of extra turns. So basically she does 10 damage to all enemies per turn, so that's pretty cool. She also does a double true damage poke, so this will be pretty useful. And when she gets a kill, which is probably the most noteworthy thing about this, is she creates 12 purple. We're already creating so many purple that we're going to be going and getting that constantly. This feeds right back into the spider, so it can feed it blue. Also, Rope Dart has auto extra turn, so you get to just keep looping over and over again. So basically, we just cast this. We now have access to Rope Dart. We go Rope Dart another thing we want to kill. We then go and kill both of these. It'll gain extra turn off of purple because it got a kill. We then do Spider again, which gets all of our mana back, and then you repeat the cycle until the entire enemy team is dead. And it's as easy as that. We just do that, throw this down again. Obviously, if you're up against freeze, really bad. As long as you're not up against freeze, you're pretty much good to go. So we'll go to this, go to that again. That brings it down to kill range, which means we can go for our purple again. We get that down. We go for this. Oh, we finally missed our turn. It's not an infinite loop. It does loop a lot. It's kind of like Divine Ball of Quillen, where it's not an infinite loop, but it normally loops long enough to get the kill. However, it has a lot of loot potential, and look at that. It is broken beyond belief. No, it's obviously not like the absolute strongest in the entire game, but it's definitely my PvP team of choice going forward for the foreseeable future. And as you see there, he gave 500 gold instead of 5 glory. I'm not sure if they're going to change the text on that or what, but he is giving gold and not glory. But anyways, yeah, if you have all those components, definitely make sure to build a team. One thing to keep in mind, though, there is unfortunately no replacements for anything in this team. There's no equivalency to any of the 4. So if you are missing something, that's kind of unfortunate because there's unfortunately no real replacement for any of these. Maybe Rope Dart you can kind of like get away with not using. But the other 3, 100% for sure. And if you have Rope Dart, definitely make sure to end up using it with it. But yeah, it is insane. Rope Dart moves them forward, entangles them, and tears that armor, which sets up into a Mother of Darkness kill, which then creates purple. You have your Night Spider to go and constantly keep mana accumulating. Mother of Darkness feeds a Spider. Spider feeds back to Mother of Darkness. And Captain McCall adds 50% to all of them. And if they happen to have Submerge, you also get free kills out of that. And even if not, he can sometimes do a little bit of extra poke damage just at the end. Like if you Rope Dart into a poke from Captain McCall, that will kill most things within the game. So that alone, even if they don't have Submerge on them, is going to be pretty much already enough to kill anyways. But yeah, it's like top 5 contender for strongest team in the game. And it just came out. So it made Mother of Darkness useful, and rogues in general finally viable, so that's pretty cool. I mentioned back when this thing was added too, like all we need is this one good mana accumulating rogue, and then boom, Spider came in. But yeah, nice Spider. Definitely make sure to max it. We like maxed it too. We even put a gold medal on it. Not like it gives anything good. It just gives it some HP and armor. But hey, if you're going to be using a lot like Apothecary, Leprechaun, stuff like that, HP armor might not seem that useful, but keeps them alive basically an extra turn, so worth considering. Anyways, all the other teams. So World Lore event. I kind of mentioned this, but spamming Shadow Hunter probably going to be one of the best ways to do this. Half mana start if you have it. I'll always be using Captain McCall if you're running a pure rogue team these days, especially when you're under that restriction. So if you have it, definitely make sure to use it. And Shadow Hunter will basically just go and one-shot them, and you'll basically be good to go. Aside from that, also I'm using a weapon. You can kind of replace this with a different weapon. I am using Captain's Cutlass, which is an old event weapon. However, if you do have the this weapon, you can end up using it to create a bunch of blue and red, which feeds into those other 2, of course. But you could use pretty much anything there that'll end up fitting. But this is a little bit of a rogue weapon. Aside from that, we showed this team earlier, but you can kind of do a mana accumulating weapon with Atlanta or into Blade Wings, or do the other little Shadow True Damage thing. There's a couple different options. You can go like 3 Atlantas if you happen to have it. As far as your mana accumulating weapon, if you don't have Jar of Eyes, you can end up going any number of exploding weapons, as long as it does a bunch of explosions. If you are doing Blade Wings, you do need to make sure that it does have Storm as well, whatever option you're doing there. But we have things like Jar of Eyes. We have that crystal, Aberral Crystal, whatever it was called, that was added about a month or 2 back. So if you end up picking that up, that would work pretty good there too. But whatever you kind of want to run there. It ends up working out pretty good, just mana accumulate into either Atlanta or into some kind of instant kill other option, or anything that has a really high concentrated single target damage. And that's basically all you'd have to do for the World Lore event for the cheaper side. As far as next, for the faction event, is a blue-purple restriction for when you're doing a City of Thieves. And with that being said, you can literally run standard Rowan. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to run that shield, if you happen to have bought some of those tokens, it's not currently available free to play, unless you actually it would be if you were a newer player and didn't finish out the quest lines. But yeah, you could either use our Skia shield or that other purple shield, and just run it with shield into Rowan, Mirage Queen, Leprechaun. Pretty standard Rowan team, but now has a different variant now that we can kind of have that other shield that was added into the game. Aside from that, as far as pure faction City of Thieves, you generally want to have one of each going into the final: the King of Thieves, the Street Thief, and the Tome Robber. I personally like to go double King of Thieves in case one of them dies. However, if you're looking to double up on something that's a bit stronger, the best thing to go and double up on would be the Tome Robber, due to the skull spam that it has. However, you want to make sure you have one King of Thieves that survives to the final battle so that you can build up stats for the final battle. If you don't have one, it'll be substantially harder, and you definitely want to make sure you have one. So the safer route is to just bring 2 of them to make sure if one dies, you already have one ready to go. However, if you can bring it to the final battle, it is actually stronger to have King of Thieves, Street Thief with double Tome Robber, but you are risking the fact that your first King of Thieves could end up dying. But whichever way you want to run it is both viable. Really depends if you want to play it a little bit riskier but have an easier final, or if you want to play it safe and just have the double thief up front. Anyways, as far as Orbweaver class event, you're going to be restricted to rogue and rogues from Zolkari. So you can end up just kind of going with a Dark Maiden into a War and Peace. So you can end up doing that, just auto-killing them and just pretty much be good to go. You just feed a bunch of green, take these browns, and just cast, and you basically win and just kill them all simultaneously. And just for fun to end it out with, let's go first full circle and go back to Night Spider one last time, because gosh, is this team strong. One of my favorite teams. Actually, it's probably my favorite team that actually got made this year from like new content being introduced into the game. I think it is my absolute favorite as far as new options that have been made available to us. But yeah, it is good. If you haven't tried it yet and you have all these components, make sure to do so. Unfortunately, it does use some components that some people might not have. The most two noteworthy ones that people might be missing is, of course, Rope Dart. Rope Dart's not necessarily required, but it makes setup for the Queen very easy. And, of course, another one that might have is Mother of Darkness. If you don't have Mother of Darkness, it's not really a mythic that has been really viable until this troop came into the game. So a lot of people probably passed on it. But now, unfortunately, it is meta. So if you did pass on it, hopefully it'll rotate around again. I don't think it's been in Soulforge lately. I'm not 100% certain on that, so hopefully it does somewhat soon. Because whenever it comes into Soulforge next will be the first time it's actually viable to go craft it from the Soulforge. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Of course, it is not available this week, unfortunately. Man, anyways, we just killed it out, and boom. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to use, really strong. And it's probably my new PvP team going forward. Unless something changed. Oh, we got a pet we need to go do later. But, yeah, definitely make sure to try this thing. Spider, insanely good. There are potentially other options for Spider. We'll probably mess around with it a little bit later. I feel like this is the absolute strongest, though, so there's not really too much of a need to really mess around with it. But blue and purple are really good troops for pretty much any rogue. So there's a lot of potential you could do with it. One really funny one, which I was almost considering initially doing a thing for, though I do want to mention it real quick before we end out this video. But one interesting synergy that it does have is, I completely forget his name. Let me do the typing of rogue. Oh, wait, never mind. He's right there. Deckhand. So, Deckhand. One interesting interaction that this has is he's a red-blue. He creates some purple and then transforms all purple to blue. This is pretty noteworthy because, of course, Spider uses purple and it creates blue and purple. So, basically, you can kind of do this with a heavier purple team. So, let's say the only blue on your entire team was pretty much this troop, or maybe this and one other troop. What you can basically do is use it with a bunch of heavier purples. Obviously, this team that we're using right here is a lot heavier on blue than it is on purple, whereas you could do the inverse of that, where you have it heavier on purple and have it light on blue, and you basically use Deckhand as essentially your only blue, or one of your only blues, and use him kind of like how this team is, but inversely, where you basically have like 3 purples and him as your only blue, or maybe one other blue, and then you convert all of the colors over, and you basically get to go and convert them over and get all your blues. Oh wait, did I say that in inverse order? I think I did. All your purples to blue. Never mind. You would still want to have another blue on it. Yeah, you would need a secondary blue because you're converting them to blue. For a second, I thought I said blue to purple. Completely misread that for a second. It's early in the morning recording this. But anyways. But regardless, same premise, but feeding into blue. But yeah, you would transform all the blues. You get the point. You transform all the purples into blues. You then get all the value out of that. You then constantly keep spamming the 2 spiders and the deckhands, and you just kind of keep spamming mana that way. So overall, is that strong to do? Probably not, but it's definitely a low rarity option. It's only rare, so it's can end up feeding into a bunch of blues. You just put some heavy mana cost blues, and just kind of go from there. And also, of course, feeds into Captain McCall, since you're probably running that anyways for half mana rogue start. But anyways, that'll pretty much wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And of course, we'll be streaming every single night this week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, messing around with everything. Hope you all enjoy the upcoming holidays, and I will catch you guys later. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.